All right, here we go, guys. This is Behind Closed Doors, episode number 6. 006.
I don't know. Or 07, or episode 007.
It's the 6th.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm almost positive. But considering you're right 90% of the time,
I don't know.
there's a huge
The
possibility.
second episode of 2024.
Yeah, that part.
Welcome to Welcome to Behind Closed
No,
Doors.
that's not how we started, man.
How do we start it?
In 3, 2, 1.
Welcome.
No, that's not how we started either. Because we got to do the promo before we do this. Y'all, we'll be back right after this. Welcome back, everybody. Good to be back with you. If this is your first time to our channel, welcome. I'm Glenn P. Brooks Jr. I'm an author, I'm a speaker, and I'm a coach. And this beautiful, light-skinned young lady right here is none other than
Sheri A. Brooks Jr. I'm an author, speaker, coach, wife, mother, grandmother.
How many roles you got?
I got a whole bunch of them.
Listen. So, today, y'all, we want to talk about something that I think is... You would think that every relationship has these factors. So we're going to talk about marriage and friendship, right? Yeah. So we're going to talk today about marriage. She's always doing the most random stuff.
I just turned it on
Did
silent,
Did you
couldn't
notice
hear.
that I picked it up and then I put it down? Because if I would have continued with that motion, what would have happened?
I don't know.
It would have been a distraction, and you would have heard the beep.
It was still I made it on silent, so it's not. I was adjusting the air.
Obviously. So living here in Panama, it is, especially in Panama City, it is always hot. And so, yeah.
So
anyway, today, marriage and friendship. See how she's getting on my nerves, y'all. So after after almost, look. Tell her stop poking me, y'all. Stop poking me. Listen, you wanted to talk about this because the last time we did a video, we were out in front of Siete Granos, 7 Grains.
Your favorite coffee shop.
My favorite coffee shop just up the street from where we live. And we were getting ready to go out and film and do some different creative content stuff. Mm-hmm. And I asked you a question. It was a real random question.
Very random. In the moment. It was random in the moment.
It was in the moment. So I wouldn't call it random, but it's definitely, spur of the moment.
Yes.
One of the things I've learned about Sheri is that she doesn't pick up quickly whenever tossed something. If you throw her a ball and say catch fast, it's not going to
hit me.
It's not going to get caught fast. She doesn't respond like that. I, on the other hand, am very different in that regard. So my mind is always clicking. So when I asked you the question,
but Sheri, real quick,
25
years in a row.
Thoughts.
It's been a long, interesting journey, but I'm looking forward to the next one.
You said something that I thought was kind of power-packed. And if I'm honest, it stung a little bit at first because I wasn't sure what you meant. You said what?
Well, I paused.
That part right there. The pause by itself was like, oh crap, we in trouble now. Go ahead, babe.
I paused and I said that I'm looking forward to the next 25. I said it's been an interesting journey.
That's what you said.
And I'm looking forward to the next 25.
It's been an interesting journey. So whenever somebody says something is interesting and they don't give the exact definition of what interesting means, they just leave it there, it's generally because that was the nicest thing they could say in the moment.
That's your thinking. I don't think everybody thinks that way. If you guys think when somebody says something's interesting that it's a bad thing, put a 1 in the chat.
Listen.
If not, put a 2 in the chat. I think that's the way that you think. I would not have necessarily looked at that as a bad thing. And realistically, the past 25 years have been interesting.
No, they have very much been interesting, but because you didn't give a definition of what that meant,
but you were here with me.
No,
You've been here the last 25 years with me.
Right. But
so why do I need to explain that to you?
You don't need to explain it to me. But I immediately thought people are going to wonder, well, what does interesting mean? Is that bad? Is that good? Is that what does that mean? So if that's the way I think, maybe y'all don't think that way, answer the question that she said earlier. But here's what I do want to do in today's episode. I want to break down some of your interesting thoughts. And we're talking about marriage and friendship. Over the last 25 years, we have gone through hell on some levels and absolute heaven on others. And I think that's true of most relationships. You're going to have these ebbs and flows, highs and lows throughout the course of your relationship. Some people go through more highs than they do lows, and some people go through more lows than they do highs. But I can tell you, it makes for an interesting journey, for sure. When you talk about interesting, Sheri, let's break that down and let's talk about the confines of how we navigated the interesting or the differences. Y'all see me setting this up because I'm going to make that a bad thing. No, come on, babe, talk to me. What you got?
So, I mean, for those of you that don't know, I was married twice before Glenn. Glenn was married once before me. And so in my former 2 marriages, they were, for lack of better terms, uninteresting. They were very, I was young. I didn't know what I was doing. It was, for all intents and purposes, it was intent and purpose. What is the phrase?
The phrase is for all intent and or purposes.
For all intent and or purpose.
But we all
intents, purpose.
You know how we do it.
It gets grumbled up into one thing. Yeah.
Anywho, I love it.
Anywho, I was young. I didn't really know what I was doing.
Right.
And those relationships were an extension of dating for me in a lot of ways as far as my mindset. It's like you're dating, you get married. It's like you're just an extension of you dating. It doesn't really change anything. And so there were a lot of mistakes made because I didn't understand the commitment. I didn't understand covenant. Didn't understand marriage.
Right.
At all.
I don't think most people really do.
All that comes with it. In order to have a successful marriage.
Real quick, how many of y'all think marriage is designed to make you happy?
Ooh.
If you believe that,
put a 1 in the chat.
If marriage, when you think of marriage,
happy wife, happy life.
If you think of when you think of marriage, do you think marriage is designed to make me happy, or make the other person happy, or fulfilled? Anything, fill in the blank. I'm just curious. Come on, I'm sorry.
Okay. So, not understanding that those relationships were pretty mundane.
Yeah.
I guess would be the best way I would describe it. Now, with my second marriage, my husband and I were friends. And so it wasn't a horrific incident. We actually, when we divorced, it was like the weirdest divorce because we were best friends. And it was like we made a mutual decision to go our separate ways for reasons. And we remained friends afterwards. But with Glenn, by the time we got together, I had matured. I had a better understanding of what marriage was and what I wanted in marriage, and I knew that if I was going to do this again, it was going to be for the long haul. That divorce was not an option. And there were things that I knew from my previous relationships that I knew needed to be foundational in our relationship. One of which was friendship.
Okay.
I realized that in marriage, you were going to go through ups and downs, and if you were not friends, it was very easy to walk away from the relationship. It's very easy to throw in the towel. And so for you and I, when we met, neither of us were interested in each other romantically.
Nope.
At all.
At all.
And so we became friends. We had a true friendship for almost a year before we even started dating. And that kind of built the foundation.
I'll be honest, it was probably the better part of that year before I even looked at you in that kind of a light, let alone...
You didn't think I was cute?
I thought you was cute. But, and then when we first got married, I was dating crazy person, and it was a situation. Crazy person number one. Crazy person number one. Yeah, I had my share of crazy, and believe me, in all fairness, I was a part of the crazy. So, but no, the point is that there was no distraction. So it wasn't like you know, let's just be dead real. Even when you guys are in your circles of friends, there are some people that you're saying, if I ever had the chance, fill in the blank. That was not the case with us. We were just cool. I think that the mission that we were on at the time, building the youth choir and doing all the different things, was really our focus in a lot of ways. So much so, I remember the day that I recognized that, yeah, you could be potential, and that's a whole different story. But at any rate, I don't want to digress too far. So you were talking about foundational things, friendship needing to be a huge part of that. Babe, when you say that friendship, why is that so like structurally important?
So I firmly believe that friendship should be the foundation, the bedrock of a relationship, of a marriage, because when, like I said, you're going to go through ups and downs. And when you're with a person that you genuinely like, it's a lot easier to go through those ups and downs with that person because you like the person. Mm-hmm. So if you think about your friendships, you know, your girlfriends, your guy friends, you know, your dudes, whatever you want to call them, you guys will go through seasons in life. You'll go through things, and, you know, you might get upset with each other, and you might not talk for a minute, but you wind up, if it's a solid friendship, if it is a true friendship, you come back together at some point in time.
For sure.
You know, you're not walking away with ill feelings towards that person. You're not, you know, wishing bad on them. You literally still care for that person. Facts. And will be there for them. Facts. In crisis, even if you guys may have had a falling out or whatever.
And that's the other thing that's the secret, I think, key to the core of this particular foundation. I think that the components of a legit friendship has the underpinnings of things that just last longer than most things. So in other words, you could be pissed off with your friend and still show up for them in a way, even through adversity. And so that's one of the things I kind of want to go back to before we lose sight of this. 25 years is a long time, and you and I had never been this engaged with anybody prior. I was married 12 years prior to Sheri. And I can say that this was unique. As a matter of fact, there were times where we would count like 3 in, 6 years in, 9 years in. Those were breaking points when we typically went off the reservation in other relationships, right? These were mile markers, if you will. And every time we went across one of those mile markers, it was like, wow, we really doing this. And I remember when we went past 12, which was when the length of time that I was married, the first time we was married for 9 and then separated for 3. So in total, it was 12. And when we passed that number, I thought to myself, I think this is forever.
We can really do this.
We can really do this. And you'd say, well, after 12 years, you didn't know that. Y'all, you have to understand that I was not a very good friend in the past. Sheri was the first person that I met of the opposite sex where I could be completely transparent with. And when I say transparent, I don't necessarily mean vulnerable. Those are two different things. But I had a problem with just being transparent. I had a problem with you seeing into my window. Forget coming into my house.
Right, and that's when we talk about friendship. This is not y'all just like the same things. Y'all just, have similar interests. It's being able to be yourself, your authentic self with this person. If you can start off your relationship with the person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with, where you don't feel like you have to wear a mask. You don't have to put your best foot forward. You can be your authentic self, and they accept you as you are. Not to
That's
say,
a game changer.
Yeah, not to say you're not going to grow, you're not going to evolve. That's a whole nother discussion, because you should grow and you should evolve. But if you can accept me with all my flaws, knowing everything, pretty much everything. I mean, because nobody's going to write a whole book about themselves, but you know who I am at my core.
Right.
You know my struggles. You know the things that I've been through, and you ain't flinch. You ain't run.
Yeah.
You're willing to. You're willing to.
That's a situation. Man.
Navigate those challenges with me, to be there to support
that's
me.
Unique.
One thing I always tell, we used to have a singles community, and I still talk with singles every now and then. Things that you want to do when you're dating, you want to allow the two of you you want to have a disagreement, because you need to see how that person responds.
Facts.
You need to see, are they going to be a friend in crisis?
Facts.
Or are they going to turn into this selfish person that doesn't care about you,
Facts.
That's all concerned about themselves.
Yeah.
And I think we went through those type situations. I remember, like with the choir, I would be my little anal self.
Yeah.
And you know, start demanding and barking things, and you were able to check me.
Right.
But it wasn't mean. It was like, you know,
right.
you tripping
But
right
we learned
now.
that in a friendship stage.
Right.
And so one thing, if I could just offer, and maybe we'll come back and do a part 2 to this, because this is really good, babe. I think that there are 2 people that we're talking to, I think, you know, whether they're married or they're dating. There are people that got into their relationship as friends, like you and I did, and their friendship over years needed to be nurtured.
Yeah.
Or there's a group of people that we're talking to, they're in a relationship with people, but they never were friends.
Right.
And I think that becomes probably the most difficult of the 2 for sure, because now years in, maybe kids later, certainly careers, property, you name it, y'all built something together, and then you've come to the conclusion you don't like each other, you're not friends, and now you find yourself having to face, do we dissolve this, or do we not keep going, or do we go back and do we establish a friendship because we built something together and it's worth at least attempting to fight for. Does that make sense?
Right. And I think that for those couples that you may be in a relationship already, you know, you've been married for some time and you realize that, you know, you may have come across some hard times and you realize we're really not friends. I mean, I love this person, but I don't really like them.
Right.
I don't think it's ever too late to build a friendship. It takes intentionality.
For sure.
I think it takes you both being committed to setting aside the issues.
For sure.
In dealing with the person, really taking that time to nurture that relationship. Even for those of you that have been in a relationship for a while, you may have started out as friends, and we've gone through seasons like this. We started out as friends, but there were seasons when it needed to be nurtured because life was beating us both down. And it's like, you know, I love you, but I don't like you right now.
Right now, not at all.
And so we had to nurture our friendship. We had to go back to, you know, you'll hear people all the time talking about, you know, what you did to get her, you got to keep doing, or what you did to get him, you got to keep doing. That is so very true in the sense of your willingness to be open, your willingness to talk, your willingness to share of yourself. And I'm not talking about physically, me sharing with you what I'm going through, me sharing with you my dreams, my aspirations, having those real conversations and not letting, because in marriage, let's be honest, it can turn into, you guys can be 2 ships passing in the night.
Facts.
Especially if you got kids or your career focused or you got a business. You can find yourselves just passing each other and there's no time.
Right.
But you have to commit to making time for the 2 of you to spend time. And the more time the 2 of you spend together, the easier it'll be to build that friendship, or to nurture that friendship.
Yeah. I'm going to jump in here, babe, because I want to use, that's a great segue. So the question becomes, how do we do that? One thing that Sheri and I did is that we invested in us on a regular basis, whether that was reading the same books, whether that was going to workshops together, whether that was going to counseling together, whether that was, I remember there were times that you and I put on a calendar that once a month, no matter what, we were going to unplug and go and get some us time. And oftentimes with kids, it looked like going to the neighboring city and staying in a hotel just for the weekend. We would do little things like that consistently. We also developed a consistent date night. And I can say without reservation that you and I have dated every week for the last 25 years.
Yes. It may not have been on the same night.
It may not have been on the same night. There have been nights where, you know,
some
on
nights
average,
with Netflix and chill.
Yeah, but the point is that we would carve out 2-3 hours to date each other every week. And that's something that I want to do. So when I talk about that, we're doing a workshop online in February, and I want you guys to be a part of it. It's totally free, but it's going to give you guys some insight as to how Sheri and I have built a connection. I think the thing that friends have over everybody else, there's a connection. Let me tell you how I know. You ever have friends that you know from school, but then you have friends that grade school, then you have friends that you know from college, and then you may have friends that you know from a first job, career experience. If you have an event where they all come together, let's say you get married, right? Let's say there's a baby shower, whatever. But all of those groups of friends come together under the same roof. Have you ever noticed the awkwardness that's in the room, or now you have to intentionally do an icebreaker to connect the dots. You know why? It's because there's no connection between those groups. And so although you may be friends with each one, they're not necessarily feeling each other because they all knew you at a different phase in your life. I think the same happens in coupled relationships all the time. When Sheri and I met, we were in our early 30s. Today, we're closer to 60. And so the truth of the matter is we are very different people than we were back then. So if we don't decide to nurture our relationship to the point to where it builds a connection, and when I say a connection, but y'all, we went through some crap. We went through some stuff that would really break up most people. But the truth of the matter is that I think that nurturing process that we built in that was consistent anchored us through a lot of that.
Yeah, I think we built a connection where, you know, no matter what happened, I mean, and when things got bad, there was a part of me that I didn't want to leave my friend.
Ooh.
You could have been pissing me the heck off. I could have been angry about the situation. But at the end of the day, I don't want to leave my friend.
Man. I'm struggling with being emotional right here. You know what's powerful about that for me is that that's real, because it says that I don't know what to do, I don't know how to fix this, but what I'm not doing is I'm not abandoning my friend.
Yeah.
And there were times in our relationship where we were going through our go-through, and you could have absolutely, with, I mean, legit reason, not that there was an affair, because there wasn't, but just lifing in a way that I would have been sad to see you leave, but I couldn't blame you.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? There's no way I could say, you know, why did you? No, I could not blame you, but you chose to stay. And we've talked about this. We haven't talked about it in a while. That threw me for a sec. But not wanting to leave your friend is huge, because what I realized looking backwards, that was just a blip on the screen,
right,
relative to how we ended up.
Right, because even in those moments, I didn't know what tomorrow was going to look like.
Yeah.
I didn't see where we are today then. But I knew that we had such a foundation, and I knew you were willing to fight, I was willing to fight, that if we fought for our relationship, we could overcome.
Do me a favor, while we got a few more minutes, and I just wanted to give people an insight. You didn't know what the future holds. It's been 25 years. What has the future held?
Oh my gosh. We're in the best place we've ever been. Relationally, we are in a season of our relationship where we're able to really focus on each other, spend time together, hang out. It's almost like we've gone back. Well, I can't even say gone back, because I don't think we started the dating process like most other people did, because we were friends from the beginning.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're in a very settled place of our relationship, but we're in a place of exploration at the same time. One thing that I've always loved about our relationship is that we always have had a lot of firsts, done a lot of things together that were first. I just feel like we are in a season of, for lack of better terms, reaping from all of what we've gone through, from all what we've overcome.
Wow.
We're reaping the benefits of that now. Do we still have work? Yes, of course. We're not perfect. But I think that we are in such a good place relationally that it's just good. It's not even, it doesn't feel like work anymore. I guess is the best way I can put it. It's like there was a lot of work that we both had to do, our own personal work, our own personal development as we've grown over the past 25 years.
Let's talk about that next week.
Okay.
Let's talk about personal development, because I think that has everything to do with how we've grown together as humans in a relationship. You and I drilled down and we did a ton of work on ourselves as individuals. So that is definitely what we're going to talk about, and we'll continue this story. But when you say that, one of the things that warms my heart is, and I'll give it to you for all my business people in this analogy, A lot of times building businesses becomes really, really difficult. Business or ministry, anything that requires everything in the beginning to produce something on the back end. And most entrepreneurs, most ministry leaders, most small business owners, we have no problem starting out the gate hard and fast, right? Oftentimes our downfall becomes the patience that it takes to nurture this seed that's been planted. For those that did have and implore the patience, you get to reap a benefit of that only came as a result of the cultivating of that seed in the dark places in the ground. And I want to encourage you that relationships are very, very similar. You are not going to see the return on the investment right away. And I think that until you develop the level of patience and implore it, right? Because I think we all have it. We choose to use it where it benefits us, right? You're not going to reach into the oven and grab the cake out before it's time because you know it's going to fall. It's not going to be ready. And it's going to be hot and it's going to burn you. So you know how to implore patience. The problem is when you have way too many choices or you allow your ego to get involved and you just say, you know what, I'm not doing this no more. I can't live like this. I want to encourage you to challenge yourself this year and ask yourself two questions. One, have I really truly invested in this relationship? Have I planted a seed? And two, have I been patient enough while this seed goes through its own maturation process before I cut ties and I decide
and
that
this is it. And are you nurturing it?
Go ahead.
And are you nurturing it during that process?
Correct.
Once you plant the seed, you can't just plant it and then walk away and leave
Correct.
it. You have to continue to nurture it. And I mean, marriage is hard work. It's not easy.
Yep.
It takes you being selfless.
Yep.
It takes you always considering someone else. It takes, compromise. It takes a whole lot to have a successful marriage.
Yep.
But the reward.
Oh my God, the return on investment?
Yeah, people always say, marriage can
priceless.
be the closest thing to heaven or hell.
That you ever experienced on this earth.
And that's true, but it depends on how you nurture that relationship,
Facts.
Whether it's going to be more hell
Facts.
or more heaven. And I can say, I'm in heaven right now.
I'm in heaven. No, it's funny. Y'all, we'll be back on the next episode. And do me a favor, check out the description below where we'll drop a link to this free workshop. It's a 90-minute workshop chock full of tips, tools, and strategies. We're going to go heavy on the tools. Like when you leave this thing, you will be able to put something specific in place in order to be able to help add value to your relationship. You got anything?
Nope.
At the end of the day, here's what we know to be true. You can't get to any place of significance by yourself because
we all need some help. I need help.
Y'all be good. And we'll talk soon. We'll see you on the next episode.